Welcome to the From Concealment Podcast, the show for firearm enthusiasts who like to shoot, train, carry, and compete. Get ready for some shooting and sight, firearm and accessory reviews, and of course, insight on concealed carry. And now, broadcasting from behind enemy lines in the From Concealment studio, it's Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams.
Hey, Freedom Nation, Pete Mitchell here with the From Concealment Podcast, and I'm here, of course, with
Mr. Dan Sams.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about right there. Welcome, everyone, to our podcast today. It is being brought to you by FastOC.com. If you are in Orange County, California, or the surrounding area, and you're thinking to yourself, hey, I'd like to get some additional training in, I'd like to perhaps do a handgun challenge, maybe a two-gun challenge, then what you want to do is you want to head on over to FastOC.com, sign up for one of those courses. I will be there for the challenges. In fact, I think I mentioned on the last podcast, I'm going to be there on the 27th of December for, I've signed up for PCC as well as handguns. So definitely encourage you to do that. Again, check it out at FastOC.com.
Yeah, buddy.
So before we get into today's topic, I got to talk about something that I guess it was announced mid-November. I came across it yesterday on someone else's site because I was like, I don't understand. Did Polymer 80 come out with a new 80% Glock? I literally was like, I don't understand. What is this? And then I'm like, oh, wait a second. Someone else, 80% Arms, has just made a 80% Glock gun. So, Dan, tell me your first impressions after seeing what you saw here on the website.
Well, my first impression, I'm looking at the little introduction video they have on here, and the gun they have in there is just gorgeous. I mean, it looks cool on top of being awesome. It's the same as you, man. I just came across this. I mean, you showed it to me maybe 3 minutes ago. So I'm still kind of in amazement mode. It looks amazing. And the whole idea of this being able to work with Glock holsters, that we're not going to have any kind of issues when you're talking about a normal polymer, 80% lower. This is exciting, man. I think we got something cool. And the price is right, man. I feel like $80 for a lower, not bad at all.
Yeah. Now, here's the interesting thing, guys. So it's called the GST-9, or they're just calling it the Ghost Gun, probably to fully own that title of just stick it to everyone who thinks that's a bad thing. What looks so cool about this, first of all, is it's modular. And so what we mean by modular is I don't know if it comes with it or you got to buy it separately. I honestly couldn't tell. They have little inserts, if you will. So you can have a Glock 17 grip, the full length, or you can have a Glock 19 grip, which of course is the compact version, which means you could put a 19 slide on it, and now you've got your basically a 19X if you put the 17 grip on it. They're claiming you can also put the 17 barrel. I mean, so I don't know, man. I don't quite know how all that works, because that doesn't make sense to me, but I haven't seen it. So I kind of want to see that. But to me, I really loved that idea, because as you know, here in California, we can't buy the 19X. It's not on our handgun roster. And so we got to pay basically 2 to 3 times the rate that you pay for it in other states, because we got to wait for a cop to turn around and sell theirs. Yeah. And but I really like it. I mean, and it looks gorgeous. And if you buy their complete pistol build kit, they've got a gorgeous slide. They've got, I believe they even have a fluted barrel on it.
Wow.
They've got it's an RMR cut slide. So for, you guys, if you've got an RMR, you can put that sucker right on it. I mean, I'm looking at this thing just salivating. They've got a sale going on right now on it. Now, what they did say on their site, the jig is sold separately, and you do need a new jig for every one you do. And they said it's due to a recent ATF change that they have to sell them separately. So it's not really $80 right now. It's $80 because it's on sale. Plus, it's another $20 for the jig, which is on sale. So you're at $100. Still no problem. Dirt cheap. I got so many uppers. I'm like, sweet. If this was legal for me to do without telling the state of California, I'd do it. But I don't want to tell the state of California that I did a gun. So I might come out there to Ohio with you, Dan, build a few of them, leave them out there.
Come on out, man. We got a place for you to stay here. We got a place for you to shoot here. I've got a place for you to get parts here. We got everything you need. Shoot, I got a shop where we can do this. It's heated.
Isn't it? Doesn't that thing just look gorgeous?
It just looks amazing.
Me, it looks easier to do than polymer 80s because I've done maybe half dozen polymer 80s. This looks easier to do because of if you've ever done a polymer 80, guys, you know that when you have to basically Dremel out that it's not the holes, it's that one little stopper that they got. I don't even know what to call it. It's just a piece of plastic. You got to Dremel that sucker out, not the rails. They've put, it looks like these new guys, 80% arms, have put it at the end of essentially the barrel, where the barrel would go. And I'm like, well, that'll be so much easier just to Dremel that sucker out. And to me, I mean, one of the problems with the 80%ers, or polymer 80s, I should say, is none of them fit a Glock holster because, again, they had to make it different enough so Glock doesn't sue them. And so they put a great rail on it, but the rail is flared out, which means it doesn't fit in any holster that is made for a Glock. And this one apparently will. And I'm like, okay, so they probably just went in instead of out to put their rail on to be different from Glock. So I'm looking at this thing like, man, it's gorgeous. I want one. It looks fun. It
does look fun. This is we're filtering through the pictures here now. But just the build kit, man, looks awesome. Obviously, if you got some uppers, go ahead and buy the $80 lower. But man, this kit's not a bad price, man.
I know,
$700 to put that kit together. That looks awesome. Man, look at
this
fluted barrel
to have a legally homemade gun that has no serial number and no one knows you have. To have that legally, that's worth $700 right there. That's all day long. I'd be doing that.
Yeah, buddy. Man, that makes me happy. That makes my freedom heart just beat a little faster.
Yeah, and I'd love that they just call it the ghost gun. Oh, it's our ghost gun.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Oh, this thing looks awesome, man. That's a good, you know what? Getting into the Glock game, man, that's a great way to get into it. Get your kit for $700 from them. You start off with an amazing gun. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm telling you guys, that's how I learned so much on my Glocks was because in California, we got to wait 30 days to buy guns, handguns specifically. Yeah. They might have changed the law. I can't remember if they changed it now for rifles as well, but I know it was a 30-day wait for handguns. And I had just bought a 1911. I'm like, but I want a Glock and I can't get a Glock. So I ended up doing 2 pistol build kits, which I no longer have because of the change in California's law. If California's listening, I no longer have them. I actually destroyed them, literally destroyed them, because I just didn't want to deal with the hassle. So I still have all these uppers. That's why I'm looking at this thing going, man, I really want it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think it's awesome. Good find, man. Yeah. Man, 80% arms. We're giving them a lot of love on here, by the way. You guys, if you want to sponsor us, we'll talk about you even more. Way to go, 80% arms. We like you guys.
So I did some training last night. And it was fun because I've been using my iron sights so much, right? Because I'm quicker with irons. And the biggest issue for me with irons, if I have to use support single hand shooting, it's really hard for me to find the red dot.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, okay, well, I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to use my dominant hand. So maybe I should just go back to irons. And so last night I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use my red dot. I got an RMR on my 19 and put that sucker on. And I'm telling you, man, it was like I was coming home. I was like, oh, yeah. Because it wasn't sport hand. So I was like, I was quickly on the target. Man, I was hitting it where I needed to hit it. Oh, it was great. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it's fun with that RMR, man. It's got to feel good. That's
cool, man. It is, and it does. It does, no doubt.
It's good staying proficient with the iron sights, though. I think it's a good thing. But I know that feeling when you come back into this is the sight that I love.
Right.
That's cool, man.
Yep.
That's really cool. Good times.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, today we're going to be talking about your favorite Conceal weapons, or at least our favorite Conceal weapons.
Yeah.
And so, Dan, why don't you kick us off here? what's the first gun on your Conceal list?
All right. So my very first gun I'm going to come out with is the Walther PPQ. Now, part of this is just because I'm a Walther guy. I tell everybody I love Glocks. Glocks are wonderful. Huge respect for them. But for whatever reason, Walther has just served me so well, and I am 10 times better shot with a Walther. So this is all about just personal preference and what fits in my hand well, what I'm used to. It's, I'm not picking on anybody else. I just really like my Walther. But that Walther PPQ, the trigger is amazing on it. It's relatively easy to conceal. It's still a relatively small gun, and really almost anything in the Walther 9mm range for a conceal carry gun, man, I'm always going to like it. So big fan of the Walther. That's probably the first one on my list. Walther PPQ, probably number one. So that's what I'm going with first.
Nice. Now, because I don't have that firearm, and I think only the 22 is on our roster here in California, so we can't even get any other caliber. What caliber?
So I would do 9mm. I really would.
Does it come in others? Because I don't know.
So I know they've got the Walther and the 9mm. I actually have a Walther P22 that I don't normally recommend 22 for a concealed carry. That's a pretty handy little gun. It's easy to carry. It's close to the same size as their 9mm. So as honestly, if you want an effectively suppressed gun, that Walther P22, put a suppressor on it, that thing will do magic all day long. So that's actually in a whole different category. But if you want to do some quiet shooting, that's a great one. But yeah, the P22 is great, but I would definitely go with the PPQ and a 9mm. That's what I do. Yeah. Nice. Great gun.
Yeah. So I'm going to go through from my side on my Conceal firearms. I'm going to go through the ones I carry the most.
All right. That's good.
Because, and I'll tell you which ones I don't like, and it's a personal thing. So the one that I carry the most for me is my Glock 19.
Right on.
Number one concealed carry firearm in the United States. I train on it the most. I carry it the most. I love it. Yeah. Right? I love it. I love it with the RMR. I love it with the irons. I mean, this morning I had to take my daughter to school. I took the 19 with me. I still had the RMR on it, so I just went with it as is, and love that sucker.
Yeah.
So for me, it's the Glock 19.
Yeah, it's a classic, man. It's hard to beat that kind of a classic. It really is great.
And I hate to say it, but for me, it's also a Gen 3, because here in California, that's as far as we got.
Yes.
And nothing after Gen 3 is on the roster.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I know.
It's all right, man. Still a good gun. Still a really good gun.
Grooves. We got the finger grooves. That's all I can say.
There you go, man. That's awesome. That is awesome.
What's your next one?
So my next one, I'm going to have to jump to, I'm going to go back one and say the Smith & Wesson M&P Bodyguard. And I'm putting it in a separate category as your summertime mini carry. Not my first choice for caliber. It's a 380, but it's such a tiny little gun, and that still maintains a reasonable amount of accuracy, relatively inexpensive. It's a really great, if you're in, maybe you're in a job where you wear shorts all the time, or the way you dress makes it difficult to conceal a mid-sized gun. Man, that is a great one. I'm highly recommending that. Also for a woman. So it's a great one. Smith & Wesson Bodyguard. That's a good one. That's my summertime carry gun. When I'm not easy to conceal, and I just want to still make it hard to find.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a good one.
I do.
Yeah.
So for me, my second is going to be my second most common carry, which is my Glock 26.
Yeah.
So here's what I like about my Glock 26. Now, I believe it's standard 10 round plus one in the chamber, I believe.
Oh yeah.
And then I've got Pierce grips on it that I put on during Freedom Week, right? I didn't modify my magazines until it was legal to do so. And So, I mean, I believe I'm holding 11 plus 1. Love that thing. The grip on it is so short that I'm telling you, if I am worried at all about printing, for me, that's my go-to gun. It feels like the 19 and the 17 in the hand because it's the double stack, and it's my go-to when I'm worried about printing, and so I like it for that reason.
That's a good one, man. Yeah. That's a good one. You're a Glock man, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I am.
So I've got another one. I'm trying to think of different types of people as I'm recommending these, and not to go all Smith & Wesson here, but the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield EZ, if you're familiar with this one, also in a 380. So again, it's not the biggest punch in the world, but 380, caliber has come a long way in the last even like 5-6 years. The beauty of this gun is that the slide is incredibly gentle. So, I mean, you can rack it with 2 fingers, not a big deal. And so if you are, if you're a woman or a man and you've got any kind of like arthritis or any other kind of issues, you think about heat of the moment. You are in a situation, defensive carrying, you have to pull your weapon, you have any kind of a jam, you're going to have the easiest time clearing that jam. And so one of the reasons, so my wife also has that Smith & Wesson bodyguard, and she loves it, but she says, I have like, it's an effort to rack that slide on that thing because the spring is so tight. I don't mind it, but on an EZ, it's a lot faster. So her confidence, so if that's ever been an issue for you, I know a lot of women carry those really tiny guns that have a really difficult slide. They have a hard time getting a hold of it. The EZ is a bigger weapon, but it's such an easy job racking it. If you have a jam or any kind of a thing go wrong, really, really easy. Plus, I mean, even for just regular dude, man, it's an easy effort. And I'm impressed. It's an accurate gun. It's got a 1911 style grip safety on it. And a lot of people really liking this gun. I think they released it to focus on, kind of a person with a hand injury or women or an older person shooter. And man, everybody got excited about it. And a lot of guys will shoot that and say, well, no shame in me just using this thing, man. I like it. Yeah.
So I will say that one gun that I had as a carry gun was a Shield in 9. So not the EZ, just a regular M&P Shield in 9. And I hated it. And I hated it because I'm a Glock guy. Yeah. So every time I would take it and shoot it, I am way off. And I didn't like that. And I also, because I'm a Glock guy, I don't like the thumb safety because I'm afraid I use my Glocks, I would say tens of thousands of rounds a year. I'm afraid I'm not going to flip off the thumb safety. So, of course, I could just not even use the safety at all. I mean, if it's in a holster, it's not going to go off. But I actually sold my Shield. I actually traded it for a Beretta 92 FS, and I'm fine with that. I just wanted a Beretta, really, is what that came down to.
Berettas are cool. I like Berettas.
But so that's my official. For me, it's a no, because I'm such a Glock guy. I don't like the Shield.
I understand, man. Well, I've only talked to one other Glock guy who had a Shield, and it was and he liked it, but somebody had given it to him for free, and so it was hard for him to complain about it.
What was interesting is at last night's training, there was a guy there who was shooting his Shield, and he said the reason why he was doing his Shield is because he's a competitor, and so he shoots USPSA, and he shoots with his polymer 80s with the red dot on it. Now, that's the same grip angle as the Shield, the 1911s, all that kind of stuff. So what he said is he found with traditional Glocks, that slightly different Glock grip angle, he wasn't presenting correctly. So for him, it was an easier transition because he uses his polymer 80 so much because of his competitions, same grip angle on the Shield. And so he loved it for that. Nice. So if you're a big polymer 80 shooter, you might be better off with polymer 80. You don't want to use a homemade gun for your carry because if you have to use it, let me tell you, you're going to get in all kinds of trouble. You made this gun. That's just not a road you want to go down.
Yeah, we're talking about legal trouble that you're just in a world of hurt.
Yeah, similar if you had to use it, go to court, that kind of thing.
Similar when it comes to ammunition. You don't want to use your own loads for any type of defensive, be it at home or concealed carry. Just save yourself some legal headache. Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah. So let me, that was just my what I don't carry. So let me tell you my next most common carry is, wait for it, Glock 17. Full size. Nice. I love the grip on the Glock 17 way more than the 19, but because it is such a big grip, I don't get to carry it that often because that's going to print if you don't wear it just right. If I'm not wearing a big enough shirt, that kind of a thing.
Yep.
But I love my Glock 17, so I'll wear that one. I got right now I got a Hollow Sun. I don't know what it is, 300. We did a review on it, so I got that on the slide. But yeah, that's my next most popular carry for me.
Not bad at all, man. So I wonder, I hesitate to bring this one up, but just because I know there are some people that are still so hardcore on using a double action revolver as their carry. And I'm going to tell you, I know that for a long time, people have said, well, a revolver never goes wrong and blah, 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 blah. And complaining about automatics, whatever. I'll tell you, the game of semi-automatics has come a long way. Don't disparage semi-automatics, but I do know there's a whole world of people out there that are like, hey, my revolver, I just know it'll work. I'm comfortable with it. And I know that there's a whole group of people out there like that. So I will say there is a place for something like the Smith & Wesson Model 642 because they don't have an exposed hammer. The hammer is all internal. There's less things for it to catch on. And it is a really simple, there's not a lot of technology to it. You pull it out and you pull the trigger and that's it. And so if you're worried about, racking it, you're worried about something going wrong, you popping the end off of your magazine, I don't know, whatever. The Smith & Wesson Model 642 is a pretty decent gun. Again, I don't personally recommend a revolver for your concealed carry, but I know that there's a great apologetic for doing that. Totally cool. If you do it, I'd go with something that does not have a hammer. And that's why Model 642 is one of my picks there.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. A lot of people like to roll with the revolver for their conceal. Yeah.
Hey, and no question, it's been used for a while. The thing is, you're just so limited on number of rounds. I personally feel like it's the width of a revolver sometimes kind of gets in the way for me. I have mixed feelings. I will say, don't recommend this, but I was at the range one time with a guy who carries an open top single action like Colt Cowboy. I'm talking about the long, whatever. And he carries that as his concealed weapon. And I'm like, why would you carry a single action as a concealed weapon? And man, he could put the rounds where he wanted him to. The dude was amazingly accurate. But I'm like, what are you thinking? Like, are you Wyatt Earp? What are you doing, man? But to each his own, man. That was him doing his thing.
Yeah. So for me, my next most common concealed carry firearm for me is not a Glock.
Oh,
it's not a 9mm. It's a 45. It is my Dan Wesson Bobtail 1911. And I basically got that one because I was like, you know what? I was going through a phase where I was like, I want a bigger round, and I want to know, if I have to stop a threat, a bigger round, bigger hole, hopefully quicker stopping. I don't know that it is. I've seen all the videos. I've read all the reports. I've seen the FBI's data. I get 9mm is great. I was just going through a phase, guys. It was a phase, and I was like, I want a 45. And so I have that for that. And I will say this, the thing that I like about it most is when I want something a little bit thinner, because again, I wear in the 3 o'clock position. When I want something a little bit thinner, I really do like having the 1911. I mean, it's a single stack, so it's thinner than my Glocks, and so I do really, really like it for that. Now, the biggest downside for me is I am a round guy. I like high rounds, and so Typically on my Conceal, I've got an 8-round magazine, 1 in the chamber, so I'm limited to 9. I will always carry a spare magazine. The nice thing about carrying a spare magazine for 1911 is it's so freaking thin. I mean, I really do like that. So then I get another 8 rounds that way. But, I do like high round counts.
Yeah. Man, I'm with you on that. I just like I like knowing that I don't have to think as much about how many rounds I have. Just knowing I got a lot makes me feel a lot better. I am with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do have another recommendation, and I'm going to do this one cautiously because I have never personally concealed carried this gun. I've fired this gun and I like it. But I'm going to recommend the Canik TP9 Elite. Now, my only caveat is I have not personally concealed it. I've fired Caniks a lot. I like them, but I've never tried to conceal one. So as far as printing and all that kind of stuff, I can't speak to it. But here's what's great about a Canik. A Canik is the Glock of Turkey. People jokingly will call it the Turkish Glock. As far as quality, I would say it's on par with the Glock. In fact, I talked to the rep from Century Arms who imports the Caniks, and he's like, firearm technology, it just does amazing stuff. This is a good gun. He's trying not to compare themselves too much to a Glock. But the beauty of a Canik is you're getting same kind of quality, but typically they've tricked it out a little bit already when it comes to you, and you're looking at roughly the same price as a Glock. Every now and then they do some kind of fun, tricky things, like the way that the sights are set up on these things is they're incandescent sights, but they're rounded, and so it's a little bit easy to put them on target. Everything looks nice. They also have a tendency to do, and people have mixed feelings about this, but to do oversized ambidextrous slides on a lot of their guns. The TP9 not so much, because it is designed more for concealed carry, or at least the TP9 Elite. But man, I'm just liking Caniks in general, whether it's the TP9 Elite or one of the other ones that they've got. Great gun. You get a whole bunch of bells and whistles automatically on it. And man, they shoot well. They're reliable. So some people will say, well, I could buy a Glock and I could trick it out and put a little bit more money into it, or I could buy this Canik that has everything I want and it's at the same price as it would be buying the Glock outright. The only downside about a Canik is that they're not as prolific as a Glock,
right.
So or as a Smith & Wesson. And so if you're trying to get parts for it, you're going to have a little bit harder time, just a little bit. And so, but another great gun, just as we're kind of diversifying. Pete, you can be our steady Glock guy, and I'll be the guy that's like, check out this cool gun, and I'll spread the word. But Canik is another really great one, and their TP9 Elite is a pretty solid little gun. Actually, I'm screen sharing with Pete right now. You can see that ambidextrous slide lock right there. It's a little bit oversized. Here's the reason. Actually, I'm going to brag on this just a little bit more. No matter what kind of gun you're shooting, it's a machine, and it doesn't matter how quality it is. It doesn't matter how much it's been tested. There's the potential for something to go wrong, including a jam. And in an emergency situation, in a defensive situation, having those slide locks where you can really, really quickly deal with any kind of a jam situation, and they're oversized. They're easy to grab with your thumbs. Just like it's still striker fire, because I know most of us are in a world where we really like those striker fires. It's a pretty cool gun, man. Highly recommending those Caniks.
I like it. So I will give you my last gun on my list, which is back to a Glock. It's my Glock 43.
Yeah.
And I got it because I didn't like the shield. In fact, I wouldn't have bought the shield if I knew I was going to be able to get my hands on Glock 43, because, again, you got to buy that off-roster here in California.
Yeah.
The thing that I like about it is it feels like a Glock. It shoots like a Glock. I aim it. Everything is like the Glock. Mm-hmm. My standard full-size or compact Glocks, or even the subcompact for that matter. What I don't like about it, very low round count. I mean, I've even got the +2s on it. So that only takes me up to 8 + 1. So I don't like that. Where I primarily use it now is when I got to wear a suit. And I'll either wear it in my ankle holster, or I will, if I'm like going to be speaking on stage, Sometimes I'll wear it again, 3 o'clock position, but because it's so small, and I'll use my Bravo holster, Brave Response holster. I'll be able to tuck that sucker down really low, and so I like it for that. So that's my final pick. Again, shoots just like everything else. Thing I don't like about it, I mean, it's got a lot of bite, right? I mean, smaller guns are going to have a lot of bite. That's just the reality. And so, I mean, you just got to deal with that.
Yeah. So I was going to guess that you were going to mention the 43 as one of your top guns. I would say 43 or even 43X would be in my list as well.
If I could get the 43X, I would have gotten that. And the reality is again, these are not on roster here in California. The 48, I would love a 48. Yeah. I think that would be my Conceal if I could.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, having shot the 43 and the 43X side by side, the minimal difference. I probably would. If I'm going in and they were the exact same price, same day, same whatever, I'd probably pick the 43X. But your 43 is a great gun, and I will speak as the Walther guy, as the guy who's all about it fitting in my hand just right and whatever. That 43X does me really well. And usually, in all honesty, normally my accuracy goes way down when I'm firing a Glock. It just doesn't feel right in my hand. But 43X, I don't have that problem. And I can stack some rounds with that 43X. That's a great gun. And again, you mentioned the bite on that. It does have a little bit of a hop. But, I always remind everybody, a lot of these women go out and they get those little tiny Ruger 9mm or the Smith & Wesson M&P Bodyguard, like I was mentioning. And they're feeling the bite on those because it's so small. If somebody moved from one of those to a 43X, you might have an even easier time. So you and I are like, we feel the bite. I kind of like it. It did not bother me that much. I'm used to shooting that little mouse gun that has, you're feeling all the recoil of it. And that 43X was not too bad. Just a little bit larger in size, and it made a difference in my opinion. So what's funny is I think most women don't understand, like they're thinking, oh, I want a smaller gun, it'll be easier, and they don't realize how much harder it is to handle a smaller gun. They're actually equating the bang to the gun as opposed to the ammo. Yeah, it's the ammo. So that's the reason why you're feeling and the fact that it's so much lighter. Obviously, you got way more recoil and all that other. They just don't know. They don't know what they don't know. Exactly right, man. Exactly right. Well, I'm thinking about some of these women that they're shooting 38s and they're feeling that, and I'm like, man, you can handle that. You can handle the 9mm. You'll be all right.
I will say this. I got to renew my concealed carry in like 3 or 4 months because we got to do it every 2 years here in California, as long as they continue to let us renew our concealed carry. And my thinking is I will probably at that time either buy a 34 or add my current 34, just put the original trigger back in. Because again, I love the 17 grip, and that's what the 34 has. The extra, whatever it is, half inch on the barrel. I mean, that sucker, it's like glass when you shoot it. There's no recoil. I love that gun.
That's awesome.
So that is something else I might end up carrying after this next renewal, because we got to actually list them on our CCWs, what we're carrying by serial number.
Hate that for you, man.
Yeah. We have limited freedoms.
Yeah. So I think we've provided a pretty good list here, man.
Yeah.
Almost no matter where you're coming from. If you're coming from the you like to carry a full size handgun, your Glock and your Canic is up there. You want to carry something real tiny, that Smith & Wesson Bodyguard. You're all about the like ergodynamic gripping and all that. Well, you get your Walther, or even kind of your 43X. So hopefully that gives a pretty good list for people as they're jumping in. Yeah.
My biggest advice would be this: find the handgun that you like the feel of it in your hand, and you can conceal it properly.
Yeah.
And however you dress, wherever you're going to carry, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, appendix, however you're going to do it. and then choose the caliber, because like a lot of guys and gals are 1911 fans, and there's some great 9mm 1911s.
Yep.
And I mean, if that's the path you want to go down, sweet. You know, one of the big downsides to 1911s is how heavy they are, right? Because they're all metal as opposed to the polymer. So you just got to find, and that's why I say I think you have to be most comfortable with the firearm itself, and then you can kind of pick, okay, because I mean, Glock's a great example. I can't tell you how many guys I run into who are like, look, it's 45 ACP, and that's it.
Oh, yeah.
So get your Glock 45. You got guys who are old government employees and are like, no, it's all about 40 caliber. Fine. You know, that's fine. But again, first start with what fits you great. You're going to be able to conceal it properly. Then go with what caliber you want, because you can probably, I mean, most of these firearms you can get in multiple calibers. You can find the caliber that you want.
Yeah. I am 100% with you. And actually on that whole caliber issue, I know actually Lake Erie Arms, we did a video with our instructor, or our lead instructor, that is, and we were talking about choosing the right gun. And he says some similar things. And one thing he brings up that's just worth paying attention to is when we're talking about a concealed carry gun, you're in the world of compromise already, and you just need to accept that. You might find the perfect gun for it, but you recognize that, like, okay, now I've got to think about how well can I conceal it? And then I have to think, okay, so am I going to compromise on my caliber? Am I going to compromise on the amount of rounds I'm carrying? What are going to be my compromises? Am I going to compromise on whether or not my pinky makes it onto the grip? You know, there's all these little things, and you got to think through all of those things. Which of those things matter the most? Which things matter less? And I know so many guys, they're like, it's got to be 45, like you were saying, 45 ACP, and then they say something about winning 2 world wars and whatever. And I'm like, okay, it's cool, man. It's cool. But man, the technology of the rounds has come so far. Yep. You're not losing that much. If you're carrying defensive rounds and you're 9mm, you're just not losing that much. And so it's a compromise. There's no question. Because I mean, that 45 is still a cannon. It still wins as far as stopping power, but you're only losing just a little bit going to that 9. So, think through all of those things.
You look at the other side. Okay, but the 9 has less recoil. You get follow-up shots off quicker.
Yeah.
Usually more accurate.
Yeah.
So, like you said, there's pros and cons. That's why I say go for the feel first.
I agree.
Then pick your caliber. Because, like you said, at the end of the day, I don't really care if someone does 45, 49, 380. I'm not into 22 for carry.
No, unless you're a hitman, Pete. That's the only time it's helpful. Is if you're sneaking up, shooting somebody in the back of the head with a silencer, then 22 is your round.
There you go.
Not that I know anything about that. I'm just that's what I've heard.
Right. Yeah. Sure, Pastor Sam's.
That's right.
So that's what I do.
You are right on there. The what you're gaining in lack of recoil in a 9, and in my opinion, outweighs that 45. Oh, the me 10 years ago is cringing at what I just said, but I think it's the truth. Right. Yeah, man. Yeah, good stuff, man. I think we've provided a good list here. I hope people enjoy it.
Absolutely. Why don't you go ahead and give Lake Erie's their mad props?
Yeah. Hey, and I'm going to get really specific on this. I've mentioned our free subscriptions at learms.net for Lake Erie Arms. We actually have a specific one for concealed carry. We have everything from safety videos to more information about choosing your handgun. We mentioned a couple of these in there. I'm going to highly recommend go to learms.net, click on the link to their free subscriptions, and sign up for the one on concealed carry videos. We go through so much stuff. You get an email drip of just steady, cool stuff, and then you get access to all these videos. It's well worth it. We also have one there for female gun owners if you're interested in that or first time, but the concealed carry ones is what I would recommend in relation to this episode today. Once again, check out learms.net. Look forward to seeing it in the shop sometime.
Cool. All right, guys. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you later.
You've been listening to the From Concealment podcast with Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams. Be sure to tune in next week for more gun talk. Also, check out the From Concealment website for more shooting-related goodness at FromConcealment.com.